Good Tuesday morning. Jerry Miller, welcome to Real Talk. It's very good to be with you. We are live in Charlottesville, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love CVille Network, powered by the Yes Team Realtors. Real Talk, an insider's guide to real estate, life, and the pursuit of happiness with the focus on Charlottesville and Central Virginia. We're going to welcome Chairman Ned Gallaway from the Albemarle County Board of Supervisors to the program in 15 seconds. Before we do, we'll welcome the distinguished gentleman to the program,
Thank you.
Keith Smith, 1/8 of the 8/8 that is the Yes Team Realtors. Yonna, we love you here.
She's not actually working.
She's working right now. You're working too.
Oh, is that what this is?
She's with Harry Jr., isn't she right now?
No, she's actually out working. She's out doing a home inspection while I'm sitting here talking to
We
her.
love his wife, Yonna. She's at a home inspection while Keith and I are about to welcome Ned Gallaway to the program. Are you ready, Keith Smith?
Yeah, I said I got to talk to Ned, and she said okay.
Okay, there we go. You married well, my friend. Judah Wickhauer, let's go to the hotline and let's welcome Chairman Ned Gallaway to the show. Ned, you are live for Charlottesville and Central Virginia. First, thank you for joining us. And my friend, the second part of the question, give us an update on Albemarle County today on a Tuesday.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for having me. Keith, I knew who the workhorse was.
We all do.
Smart and good looking, by the way.
Albemarle's in phase one of reopening. We're following, the state's guidance. Basically, it's really more for businesses that are open now and following some of the guidelines that they're allowed to operate under. But we're still obviously doing the safer at home plan from the governor, where while some of these places are open, we're still recommending folks stay home and do what they have been doing. So not a whole lot has changed from that standpoint, other than the businesses having some flexibility now to do their thing.
So the most important question is when are we going to get haircuts?
Yeah, right? I'm getting a little shaggy up
look-
here. Actually, I know that sounds like my place in June is finally going to start going. So I'm actually very happy about that. Looking
Same here.
forward to it.
We're going to actually look at this for until the end of June.
You got good hair, Keith.
Thank you.
Right.
So, hey, man, thank you for doing this. I know you're busy. I know you're up to your armpits in work, real work, and what you're doing for us in the county. But just tell us, if you could, real briefly, how the process is going, in your opinion, for the opening of phase one of what the governor is calling.
Well, I mean, I look at it from two standpoints: the operational standpoint, the updates we get from our incident management team, which is a great group that have been putting in tons of hours, 7 days a week. I know that the police department has been coordinating with the Department of Health to make sure that.
Did you plan
Yeah,
that?
speaking of the police department over there, Ned, can you tell we're on Market Street in downtown Charlottesville?
And how do you like my
Yeah.
timing? So, they've been coordinating with the health department to make sure that not just that our police personnel are getting some training from the governor's office, but what to tell folks. If people call the non-emergency line, if they're concerned about perhaps groups getting too large or something, that our police force knows exactly what to do in coordination with the Department of Health to just handle things in a typical basis. We're still, still limited availability at the county office building for the public. The community development is open 3 times a week. Most of our employees are still following the same protocols that they have been for the last several weeks. So really, day-to-day operations are the same as they have been since we really went as restrictive as we did. The other standpoint that I look at it is just driving around town. Like being out this weekend, there still didn't seem to be a real uptick in the amount of cars that were out driving around. So even though I was seeing some chatter on social media about folks being out and enjoying the fact that there were some patios and open spaces open at restaurants, looking at 29 and looking at the traffic that was out and about there, it's still what it has been the last 3-4 weeks. And I think people are still remaining pretty cautious and really doing that safer at home plan from the governor. And kudos to the businesses that have been open the whole time. It's really astonishing how fast they were to adapt. I mean, you go into like Trader Joe's and the line system. I was in Giant last night, and they have the arrows telling you which direction to go down the aisles to just help keep everybody at safe distances. And they really put things like that into place in so quickly that it was impressive to see that they're doing what they need to, one, to stay, just to stay operational so that they can stay in business, but then also to keep guests and people that are coming in safe.
So it's interesting you should bring that up. I sit on the infrastructure component of Project Rebound, and a couple of your staff members are on it and other elected officials. And every single one of them gave a shout out to the private sector, to the businesses, and how they adapted so quickly to the new reality, for lack of a better term, that I think we're in. And they actually were admitted, hey, the local governments need to step it up a little bit, and was encouraging to hear that kind of conversation. Actually, I passed out an idea that we should do like a work focus group between private and public sector to try to help move that process along on that. So I've got to ask the big question, right? We're going to be a little bit upside down in our budget. Any thoughts on how we can recover from that?
Well, again, I think I mentioned it one other time, is that our approach, our county executive, Mr. Richardson, put forward, which we've been calling the 366. They went in a matter of weeks and completely rehashed a budget that was almost $60 million in the reverse direction between capital and operations. And the fact that they were able to, in a matter of weeks, completely rehash the budget, get us not just dealing with what we're going to see in the final quarter of the current fiscal year, but get us set up for next year, was pretty astounding. So while there are some things that I think that obviously there have been things that we've been a little bit slower on, the fact that team went back in and redid a budget of that size and that amount of time, that was impressive. So they showed that they have flexibility and adaptability. But, the approach has been, they were able to freeze positions, so we've been able to do this without laying anybody off or cutting back on the workforce. We'll not be bringing new people on to fill positions. And then obviously all the departments took operational cuts, and we had to scale back our capital program. In doing so, we were able to keep our reserves intact, both for so we have some cushion for the remainder of this year. But then also we'll have room that if things get worse or something takes a turn that we're not expecting, we've got reserves still set up to be able to absorb that. And then the 366 approach is, where are we at in the first 3 months? Then we'll look and see where we're at in the next 6 months. And how we appropriate that money out will be just a careful, conservative way to go, okay, where do we stand? What's the revenue situation looking like? If things are better, who do we start bringing back on? We've already been talking in board meetings with the county executive about what do you prioritize if things start to be improved. So if you do get to unfreeze a position or two, who are the first couple out of the gate? And then if things do go worse, where do we go from there? And that's where our reserves are really important.
So I know you got a hard stop in about another 6.5 minutes. 6.5 minutes. Yeah. But you mentioned board meetings and conversations I'm having with other elected officials, and maybe you can share this from an Albemarle County's perspective. Are you finding more folks are attending virtually than normal?
Good question.
Right? It seems to me the engagement from the public has kind of went through the roof. Are you seeing that happening in your?
Yeah. We had our first public hearing. We've had some public hearings, but the first one was some good participation, was 2 weeks ago. And I think we had 24, 26 participants, something like that. For 26, anything over 20, over the past couple of years, that's a large participation for in person if things were as normal. A lot of those folks I know that called in because it was around a child development center had very young children at home. I have to believe that, or I'm guessing that if it was live at the auditorium and they weren't able to participate virtually, that a lot of them would have been sending in their names of support via email or for others to read, because they just couldn't have come out at 8, 9 o'clock at night, from their houses with such young children. Yes, we see more people signing in than we did on our regular just virtual streams. Now that they know that they can participate. And we've got some big ones coming forward again this Wednesday where I expect there'll be significant public hearing, and I'll be curious to see what the numbers look like.
So I'm going to wrap up with this question and pass it off to Jerry. I think he might have some stuff from the feed. Man, again, thank you. Appreciate you doing this. But I'll wrap up with this question, and it's more of a rhetorical question. But do you see this virtual meeting continuing past COVID-19? And so,
I think all of us are going, wow, there's certainly things to learn here. So everything with what we learned from having to rehash the budget so fast and doing it in such a quick amount of time. What are we learning from the way folks are participating, not just in public meetings, but in the day-to-day operations of local government? So everything's being observed, tracked, if you would, so that when things do get back to normal, we'll be in a place where we can go, well, let's make some informed decisions of how to improve things without, we don't want to limit or take people back, but how can we make improvements upon what used to be our normal?
That's exciting. Thank you, Ned.
That's very exciting. Ned, a couple more minutes with you. We do have questions coming in. You have a couple of city councilors, in fact, watching now, and one of your colleagues on the board watching this program. So we're projecting roughly $60 million of a budget deficit here. Does the mindset at all change with supervisors to help overcome that $60 million deficit when it comes to new projects that could be tax revenue generators to help cover this loss? Does your mindset change at all?
Well, I mean, any projects that are coming forward are going to be down the road enough that those type of things wouldn't probably really impact us for some time, especially when we're looking at things in this 366 model. So when projects come forward, yes, they could have a revenue impact on us down the road, but the initial decisions are, if it's a rezoning or if it's a special exception, let's just get into the process of making good land use decisions that are appropriate.
Sure. And Neil Williamson, welcome to the program. We were talking about this on the show, about how Albemarle County, I think, is probably in a better spot from a reopening than the city because of the vast land that the business owners, the restaurants, the vineyards, and wineries have to offer. Certainly with phase one guidelines being pretty strict from outside seating, patio seating, 6-foot social distancing, et cetera. I think the county's going to be okay. I think the community is going to respond well to social distancing and also respond well to supporting these businesses as they reopen. Can I just throw the whole topic to you?
Yeah. I mean, in the big picture, in the long view, I believe Albemarle will be okay. But at the end of the day, I think with watching businesses make their own decisions with what's allowed now under phase one. But again, what I was saying, there are a lot of folks just taking the cautious approach. If they are going out in the public, they're really keeping the social distancing and they're only going out if they need to. I'm thrilled that when people do go out, that they are deciding to support local businesses because those are our community members as well, running those, owning those, have employees there. So anything we can do to support them, great. And that's why I say that in the long view, in the long run, Albemarle County will be okay.
Couple more questions for you. 90 seconds left with you, sir. Let's throw this to you. I think Albemarle County, Ned, is going to be in a hot spot for interests. People choosing to move to the county, perhaps from the city, where they're nervous about density, when they're nervous about not having a big yard, or they're in a multifamily, they go to county for some space. I think we're going to see some D.C., some Northern Virginia, maybe some big cities on the eastern seaboard interested in the county here for people moving into it. Your thoughts on that topic?
Well, I mean, I think that could add too. I mean, I think the county and the city are places where, year in, year out, because of our growth rate and people wanting to come here, that this is a great place to live, whether it's in the city or the county. And people will still continue to come for all the reasons that they have in the past. If they find additional reasons relative to this latest crisis, then that's to be expected. But, we try to do things in a way that make this a high quality of life place to live. And I think that's what draws folks in.
Perfect. Final question here. This one's on public transportation. A lot of folks nervous about the public transportation right now. Your thoughts, Charlottesville area transit, jaunt. It's a precarious time right now, Ned.
Well, yes, and the social distancing relative to getting people in enclosed vehicles makes it problematic or interesting, but the fact that the CARES Act gave some direct recipient money and it just quickly got down to CAT is a good thing. Jaunt gets two different pieces. They are a subrecipients of rural transportation money, and I know some money got held back and reserved at the state level. So once we learn more about how to access that, that'll be a good thing. But it was nice to see that the federal government was able to get that type of CARES Act money quickly down to the transit agencies to keep operations going and to deal with increased costs of operations, for cleaning and things like that.
Well said. All right, we'll close on this. It's 10:30. This is from Tim Ryan. He's watching Albemarle County. Jerry and Keith, please tell Ned Gallaway thank you for his service to Albemarle County. We appreciate him. Perfect way to close. Thank you for your time, sir.
Have a great day, Ned. Thanks, man.
Thank you, and thank you for the nice comments.
All right, you have a good one. Ned Gallaway, boys and girls, what'd you think?
Oh, yeah. Well, Ned's a rock star, and he's a super smart guy, and, somebody at the leadership level of Albemarle County Board of Supervisors.
We're lucky.
We're very lucky.
Very lucky.
It's interesting, as Ned was talking, I was just scanning some stuff on my phone. A recent Harris poll, this is in reference to this urban versus rural.
Oh, I can't wait to talk about this.
So Harris poll, they polled 2,000 folks. 39% of the folks that they polled that lived in an urban environment are now considering buying rural.
Absolutely.
And this is all in the last 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
So
I think what's going to happen, I'm going to throw this to you here, spitball. Two guys having a conversation over some gin and some coffee for Marie Bett. Marie Bett, one of the best in the business.
You got the gin.
I got coffee
Yeah,
too.
but that's not fair. I can't drink. I got a mask.
All right, I'm going to throw this question to you, my friend. Remember when Charlottesville, with USA Today and Huffington Post and all these big-time publications, was called this phenomenal place, the best place to live in the country?
Still is.
Still is. I agree. But when this national press was happening, my friend, we saw a bombardment of people up and down the eastern seaboard, the mid-Atlantic, from everywhere, moving to Charlottesville. Certainly, if they had ties to UVA, even more encouraged to move to this area. I think what could happen, and I'm going to get out of your way, you're the smart guy here, I'm just the dummy. I think what could happen here is it's going to be that 2.0. Best place to live in the country, 2.0, and it's going to be a focus on the county of Albemarle, maybe Fluvanna in there, because people are going to want that backyard, that space, that quality of life. And they're fearful, Keith.
Sure. And it's very important. That fear is real, and we have to respect that fear and communicate with the folks on the other side in a very respectful way about that.
Well said.
But I'll put a little history to it. I've been here since 1987.
Okay.
This trend has been going on since 1987.
Specifically?
Oh, absolutely.
Specifically the trend?
The trend of folks coming from Northeast or whatever down into this particular area.
You?
That's this funny accent I've got.
That's you, yeah.
So what do you think Lake Monticello has?
Right.
It has gates, right? To keep all the Yankees in.
Well, my neighborhood on the east side with Glenmore is tons of Yankees.
Sure. Well, you know the difference between a Yankee and a damn Yankee,
right? I'm sure you're going to tell us.
Yeah, so damn Yankee stays.
Damn Yankee stays. Do we think the push is going to be to the county and away from the city?
Yes and no. Look, the bottom line is the lack of inventory is such that property is going to buy and sell. That's just the fact of life at this particular point in time. Will people move from Northern Virginia and all that stuff? We just recently did a transaction, literally actually signed it up last night. Exact scenario. Moving out of Northern Virginia, a doctor and a lawyer happened to move out to Batesville. They have 1 gig internet out there. The lawyer works from home. The doctor's going to go work at UVA. And there was like, hurry up, I want to get the hell out of there. We've had other transactions recently that was internal. Like some people are moving into the city, some people are moving out. So I think there's just going to be enough of it. But this 39% is a reasonable trend. I think you're going to start seeing folks.
That's a movement.
That's a movement, yeah. But and we can talk about this on Friday. Actually, 2019, there's some stats that the millennials have been moving out of the urban environments into rural. I think at that point in time, it was more about revenue, right? But the reality of it is, usually what happens, it's been my experience, when the couple gets the first child, blessed with a first child, they want a little bit of room.
Mindset changes.
Excuse me?
Your mindset changes.
Oh, without doubt.
Yeah. My wife and I were going, my wife's watching right now. My wife and I, before our son, we were going out to dinner 3 or 4 nights a week. We were grinding, and when we were done working, we would go to Fitzroy or Sky Bar. Now it's grind, change some diapers, go in the backyard.
So as you know, my 1.5-year-old grandson
is with you.
Has just visited us, and so we.
Is that why you look a little tired?
I look a little tired. we went from college students, right? We had milk, coffee, and wine in the refrigerator.
That's it? You and Yonna?
What else do you need? and eggs, a little bit of eggs.
Okay.
To all of a sudden, and it's funny, I was telling Yonna the other day, the last time we've had a little person in our house was over 25 years ago.
Wow. Well, he's visited before.
Correct, but for a day. But
right.
spending for a week, but
Yeah.
we had to get the whole house ready. But he wasn't visited here at a year and a half. He visited here as an infant.
Right, so huge difference. He's walking and crawling.
Yeah.
So does that mean Keith Smith was down on his hands and knees covering the electrical outlets? Or were they already covered from the previous?
Oh, man. Our house
Is it baby-proof, Keith?
I believe...
We know it's Keith-proof.
I believe you can operate in any part of that house at the moment.
Neil Williamson puts on the feed a phenomenal link, guys. I would encourage you to go to the stream and check out Neil Williamson. He's got a story about architects explaining how COVID-19 will change our homes forever, which we've touched on this show.
Yeah, and it'd be unfair to ex-Judah, but we had a slide on Friday that we didn't get to use, and thank you, Neil. We'll do this a little bit on Friday, but it's exactly right. NAR just put out a great infographic where they're talking about larger houses. Right, we're starting now this trend to larger houses, yards, Zoom rooms. Right, we just completed ours in our house. We started this before this happened, but our industry, I think
we're going to see double offices potentially.
That's exactly what we ended up doing.
Yeah,
Yonna has one office.
With a husband and wife in the workforce and the opportunity to work from home, why not have the double office?
Yeah, so I think you're going to see that trend change. But look, I remember when I first started in 1987. What was the trend? The trend was the almond European cabinets, right, with the oak pull. It's just seafoam green, right?
Right. It changes.
It changes.
It absolutely changes. Here's a very difficult question, and a question I'm fortunate and you're fortunate we do not have to answer. The county of Albemarle is facing roughly a $60 million deficit. Yeah. Its working budget, its working capital each year, its working budget is roughly $400 million. To say they're facing a $60 million deficit means the business that is Albemarle County is running at a 15% lower amount of working capital than it did year over year. That's a heck of a lot of money.
I'm speechless.
Speechless.
I almost fell off my chair.
Right?
Yeah. So
and it tells me, and I'm going to get out of your way, it tells me that the city of Charlottesville, who is predicting an $8 million deficit on a $200 million working budget, it shows me that the city of Charlottesville is very much underestimating what their deficit's going to be. I think the county is much more realistic of what's going to happen.
Well, I'm not going to say that one way or the other. It does sound to me a little on the light side.
Right?
But
even Lloyd's been saying that.
Yeah.
He's like the only one that's been saying that.
Yeah. So, but I'm not in those meetings and not looking at those budgets and all that kind of great stuff on that end of it. But yeah, that's a tough thing. We own businesses, right? And we've all been this place before when you were upside down and what kind of cuts you need to make and you had to move forward. As you know, I sit on the Thomas Jefferson Planning District Commission, and hats off to them. In the last turnaround, which I've been the treasurer for the last several years, we've been building our reserves up, right? So
good for you.
And I think if you listen to what Ned said, they have a little bit of reserve funds to help them through this. And I personally think we're probably 1 to 2 months from a little bit more of revenue start coming in.
Oh, absolutely. I agree.
Sales and stuff like that. I know from our perspective, we're not changing at all how we're conducting business. We're conducting business just as if it was at a stay-at-home order, and we're probably going to continue to conduct business probably into the back end of the second phase on that.
Okay.
We just... we talked about this last time.
Sure.
Safety first, Batman.
Sure.
Right? So I think cautious, smooth, well thought out approach should go forward.
If you, John Kelly, welcome to the show. Josh Elwood, Southpaw, Western Albemarle, Crozet, and Warrior Baseball. Hello, James Watson, Brent Jocks, Kevin Gibson, Laura Linsky, Shauna Marie, 3 reals, 4 reals, 5 real estate firms watching the program.
Cool.
Live on 12 Facebook pages on the I Love CVille Network, powered by the Yes Team Realtors and Roy Wheeler Realty Company. How do you make up $60 million? Albemarle County. Does your mindset change about projects?
So if you were 15% short in your budget,
I would do anything humanly possible.
and that's what they're going to do.
Anything humanly possible.
They're really smart people, and
Yeah.
they're going to start looking at the budgets. Things are going to get cut. I mean, that's just the way it is. And probably taxes are going to go up. Nobody wants to hear that, but they're going to have to raise capital in one way or the other.
And we've been saying that on the show. We had some resistance from some of the brokers that watch the program. We've been saying for about 30 days that we think real estate taxes are going to go up.
Mm-hmm. I don't think they ever go down.
Well, sometimes they don't go up.
Correct.
Yeah. Sometimes we're like, oh, the county or the city is not taking money out of our pocket. All right. Not as much,
No.
So you're predicting an uptick, huh?
Yeah. But what? That's the thing. So what these guys are going to do, they're super smart, right? They're going to go take a look at it's just pretty simple. They're going to look at their expenses. They're going to look at their revenue. They're going to start trimming some of their expenses down, trying to figure out without raising taxes, because nobody really wants to do that. But on the other hand, services need to stay whole, right? So we'll see. I'm hopeful that we end up with this working group between the private sector and the government. On the private side, we're kind of used to doing this pretty quickly. Government takes a little bit of time to get in there.
Can you give us some insight into those meetings? What are you hearing?
Yeah. So they're not open to the public, but I guess what I can hear is there are. I'm on the infrastructure side of it, and I've been pushing this green taping versus red taping, and the way I describe it to folks is pretty simple. Green means go, red means stop. So we need to figure out
That's
how to.
That's a good explanation. Yeah,
we got to figure.
I like it. That's how I do it. That's
That's
the way to do it.
Just keep it pretty simple.
Kiss.
For me anyway. Yeah. So whatever we can do to help move projects along, right? And projects are a big terminology, right? It could be rezonings, land use, or for instance, the idea or that you came up with of using parking lots for. Eateries, right?
Restaurants, expanding their
closing
outdoor
street
seating.
downs. How can we expedite this without putting a bunch of red tape roadblocks, pardon the pun, in front of it? And the conversation was very, hey, let's do this, right? So I think you're going to start seeing some stuff come out of the city and some stuff come out of the Albemarle County allowing that to happen. I think the terminology they were using was we'll just use special event permits, right? Very short-lived.
Yeah, have them the parking option alive for say phase 1 and 2.
Yeah,
it can just be like a Band-Aid.
Yeah, correct. Yeah,
just almost like a bridge loan, if you may, to help them get to the other side.
So the positive thing, at least in the conversations I'm part of, they're having those conversations.
Awesome.
So that's a good thing, and then they're reaching out to the the private sector to help us through that. So.
Very interesting aspect of this economy is the real estate market is showing signs of health. All we're missing, though, is freaking inventory.
Oh, man.
There's buyers.
Yeah, so we got a couple of slides. Jude, if you can go to slide number 2. There's a quote here from CoreLogic. These are really smart people. Once we start getting into a better, more comfortable place in this crisis we have, you're just going to see the market go nuts. But the one that I found the most important is the conversation. And if you can go to slide number 1, Judah, this thing about some people thinking that either who's in charge, buyers or sellers, and the chief economist from Zillow is basically saying this is a neutral market, and this is something we've been
saying that.
We've been talking about this for a long time.
Yeah.
I don't think either buyers or sellers are in charge. It's very specific to location, right? So we had a particular property sell within 8 hours, right? It was very specific to a location, price, features, and conditions. On other hands, some other locations may be a little bit slower on that end of it. But the reality of it is there's simply no inventory. So,
how does that change? It just comes back to confidence, doesn't it?
Yeah. So
where the guy or the gal says,
yeah,
I feel comfortable with a stranger walking into my home.
That's exactly right.
And that's just going to be, it's not going to be, I hope that confidence level does not need a vaccine to arise. I think that confidence level will come when we see the numbers taper and we see the metrics under control or managed.
So I couldn't say it any better myself. It's confidence. It's, every person reacts a little bit differently to a crisis like this, right?
Definitely.
You act a little differently than I.
I've had to learn this in that, okay, so my wife's watching here. She's a wonderful, wonderful lady. Big heart, very mama bear with our little boy, and I love her so much for it. We look at it a little differently. And what I've learned over the last 60, 70 days, there's no right or wrong answer. It's just how that person goes about looking at it. And we just have to be understandable to it.
You have to be respectful of the other person and how they feel about that and understand that. My hat's off to you, by the way. I saw on a Facebook post you were getting something to drink. You had a mask on. So,
yeah, thank you.
So good for you, man.
Thank you.
Good for you.
Thank you.
I think people just didn't want to see your face.
Do we? I think I have a face for radio.
You realize you're not on radio, right?
This I know, I
Okay,
do. This question, my friend, for you. We are seeing new building permits from a national level start to uptick.
Sure.
And the trend that real estate is showing nationally is people looking to purchase a home want a home that's brand new, that has never been lived in because of fear of COVID. So maybe we see this dichotomy with real estate where new construction gets perhaps even more popular. Heck, it was real popular in 2019. And existing construction then has to compete yet again with the shiny new thing.
Yeah. The only negative comment to that I would say, or a little concern about that, is we're talking about inventory of existing houses. The inventory of lots are almost as bad, if not worse.
Good knowledge there. Tell me that.
Yeah. So there's just not enough inventory of land, though we're surrounded by a bunch of land, but it's not particularly subdivided into that. So henceforth, this green taping thing, right, that I'm proposing, that, look, if a project meets all certain criteria. So one of the things that we're discussing in this green taping thing is I'm part of a national cohort with Seattle and Portland, and they're focusing on green taping. And I tabled this in this discussion we had the other day, where, again, this might be a tough subject to talk about when you're $60 million short.
Yeah.
But what they do is they assign Jerry Miller to a project. So Jerry Miller is my single point of contact at the Albemarle County, and you walk this through all the different utilities and planning and so forth and so on.
I love that.
So and they, to me, it's a rather simple fix.
Right.
And they found out there that projects went from drawing boards to implementation somewhere around half.
Yeah, so much faster because there was accountability.
Well, look, they're all accountable, but there was institutional memory. Right.
Okay. Better said. Well said.
So there is a memory, because sometimes there's, in the course of a project, matter of fact, all the time, there's a change of staff. Right. So if you are responsible for that and you have to change and you hand it over to me, then you brief me, and then we just keep on moving forward. So that's something I threw out there. Let's see what everybody has to say. But it becomes an issue of capacity and resources.
This is what I'm intrigued about. I'm curious of Neil. You're watching the program. Neil Williamson, we have a lot of respect for in this program. I believe Neil is still watching the show. Here's what I'm intrigued about. An extremely small percentage of Albemarle County is designated for growth.
5%.
5%.
Neil might correct me, but I believe
Neil,
it's 5%.
correct us here. A very small percentage of Albemarle County is designated for growth, roughly 5% or so.
Mm-hmm.
And this time, when we think people are going to be interested into moving to larger homes with backyards where they can spend time with their kids and work from home if quarantine arises again down the road, we know the county is better suited for that than the city of Charlottesville.
Cool.
If we see demand going to the county and we don't have enough supply, does the Board of Supervisors, does the Planning Commission, do our thought leaders considering opening up more than that 5%, 7, 10% to help accommodate the demand? I'm curious to see if that happens. The old guard is going to say, absolutely not. The new guard is going to say, let me in, coach. I'm ready to play today.
Yep. So that's a question that's way above all of our pay grade here at the moment. So from a logical perspective, not supporting or denying it.
You're saying it makes sense.
It makes sense, right? So if because what's going to happen is the outward pressure is just going to cause prices going up. So,
Right.
Slide number 4, if you don't mind. So pretty smart folks are saying this. Dr. Yoon, who's the chief economist of NAR, even though they're saying this is a temporary kind of slowdown, but they're expecting prices to rise.
Oh.
We're seeing this now, right? You and I have been working on this project together.
Yeah.
Or bet.
A wager.
A wager.
Prices are going up.
Yeah, I just looked at them yesterday. They're year over year, day over day, they're going up. Sales are down, volume is down, right? But what the sales price are going up. So we talk about this all the time. My affordable housing hat.
Your passion.
I'm deeply concerned about.
I'm so terrified for that passion of yours right now. Doesn't the writing on the wall say no stock housing? Demand still there.
Sure.
Limited stock. Multiple people want it. Compete for that item. Price goes up.
So you don't have to have a PhD after your name to put those together.
Isn't it right?
Yeah. So I'm deeply concerned about the affordability index, and this is just going to get worse. It's not going to get better. I hope I am wrong. I pray I'm wrong. But and the only way to do this is increase
the stock.
The stock, yeah. So like Anthony was talking about, Haro was talking about the other day. I'm trying to figure out where I can help him to find some property, but
He wants a hotel.
Yeah, but
You said it's pretty much impossible.
It is impossible. Sorry to say that.
Yeah.
You'd have to go considerably outside the center of the city.
You would have to go to like a Louisa.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, there's a perfect piece of property. We talked about this before on Cherry Avenue.
Kim's Market.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Great piece of property, great location, walking distance to UVA, on a bus line.
Underutilized.
Totally
Hurts the entire look and feel of the neighborhood.
Absolutely.
It's a derelict property that is not maintained.
Well, it's actually different than that. It is now a heating and cooling supply place.
It's actually now the Charlottesville headquarters for a Shenandoah Valley construction
That's
company.
Exactly right.
That is the commercial subcontractor for the University of Virginia.
That's exactly right. And it's fenced off.
It's fenced off.
So, but, that's a $3 million plus purchase.
At least.
Minimum, yeah.
Yeah, and we have a common friend who's the listing agent for that property.
Sure.
And Chris Kabash.
Sure.
And Chris Kabash is working and this is public record,
Sure.
working so extremely hard on the Kim's Market property on the behalf of a divorcee.
Yeah.
She got the property in a divorce. She's trying to sell it. Straight up said, I don't have the capital to maintain it. I want to work with the city to do it. And the city's red taping them left and right.
Well, there's also you need the capital to do it. That's the problem.
Oh, city.
No, somebody. The city's probably not going to do this.
No, it's got to be a private-public partnership, right?
That's what I'm trying to put together.
Yeah.
I'm literally trying to put that together. Do a public-private partnership, put it together, acquire the property. You can put, Region 10 in there.
So much.
You can put affordable housing in there. You can put a homeless shelter. You can do all kinds of neat stuff. Also bring, it's a bit of a food desert there. Bring in some fresh food.
Huge food desert.
Yeah. So, but, I've been trying for 4 years, actually, to put that deal together.
And?
I need the capital.
Give us some capital, guys.
Capital.
Put it on the stream. Let's buy Kim's Market. How is the city going to respond? What's going to happen to the city, do you think?
So this particular project?
Oh, the city in total. Anywhere you want to go.
Yeah. So let's stay on this particular project. I'm convinced if you can put a public-private development perspective together, the city will work with us. They've flat out said that.
Someone get Chris Kabash in here.
Yeah.
Tag Chris Kabash and get him over here.
Yeah, I've talked to Chris regularly.
I know, right? I like Chris.
Absolutely. So we just need to come up with the public-private partnership, come up with the capital to go ahead and acquire it, go vertical. I mean, we've explored this of having the land trust owning it, so it stays forever affordable. All these different approaches. But the bottom line is you need about $3 to $4 million to acquire, and
probably another couple, maybe 3 to 4 to
put double digits.
Yeah.
On that.
So you're probably looking at 10 start to finish.
Minimum.
To do what you want.
10, 15 grand. 10, 15 million, excuse me.
10 to 15 million.
Yeah.
Multifamily, the question's coming on the feed. Multifamily, townhome, density living. future of that, at least in the short term?
Well, I mean, that's going to have to be the trend because of the cost of development and let's call the red tape, if we keep on going back to that on development side of things. So, density is king, right? So if I'm paying X dollars for the land and developing is Y, and the market's only absorbing Z, density is usually the place to go for that.
Do you think, and you're recovering developer, as you say, on this program, and I learned so much from you. Does the developer pivot his thinking or his model because he or her is concerned that the market is going to want a little bit more breathing room and room for the Holy Spirit with where it lives?
Yeah, the answer is yes.
So, but how does it pivot away from density and multifamily when the land is so darn expensive?
Yeah. So that goes back to this affordability issue, right?
Yeah.
Price is just going to go up. And that's not unfortunate, but that's
That's just the nature of the beast.
That's the reality of it, yeah. So in order to keep prices more cost effective, you have to increase density, you have to change some sort of the rules and regulations. For one of the things Charlottesville and so Portland and Seattle has done that in some of these other jurisdictions, I believe Cincinnati, can't remember the other cities off the top of my head, but they're taking away the parking requirements. I know some folks on your feeds have been saying that, so they found that
they hate the parking.
Yeah,
Some folks, and they're basically saying the cost to construct parking lots is driving up the cost of housing. And if we could take away the parking lot construction from the model, the cost of the construction would go down and become more affordable.
So that's why this Kim's Market parcel
is that true?
Oh, very much so, yeah. It depends on how you talk to. Some people say $20,000 a spot. It could
Rory Stolzenberg says it's $50K a spot.
Correct, in a structured parking lot. That's about
in
right.
a structured part. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, and it depends on how far you're going down. But at the end of the day...
Isn't that crazy, Keith?
Sure. At the end of the day, that is more than what the acquisition for the land is per unit.
Oh, walk me through that. I didn't follow that.
Yeah, so if you take a look at Kim's Market at $3 million, and let's say we can put 100 units on it. You're sharp on the math, whatever that math comes out to be. Yeah. The bottom line is that the acquisition of dirt per the unit is sometimes equal to or less than actually building a parking lot. Is that making sense?
Yes, that makes perfect sense. He's basically saying there ain't that much dirt, so it's so expensive. It's basically the cost of doing the work to build something on it. And that's horrifying.
So it costs as much to park a car than it is to buy the land. Or sometimes, in some cases, more.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. In multifamily, it's called per door, whatever door. That's how it does it.
And where it really impacts places is like the city when it only has 10.2 square miles.
So again, to talk about this Cherry Avenue parcel, that's a perfect example where this partnership would work with the city because the city would have to change its parking rules. Well, okay, I don't need so much parking if I've got a bus line in front of it.
Exactly.
Right. So.
Or in walking distance to pretty much everything.
Correct. Or if we're going to put in, bike racks or storage for bicycles so folks can use bicycles, they can walk. So that's what they've done in these other jurisdictions. They say, okay, if you meet these criteria, parking goes away. Then all of a sudden, units become, because just imagine you don't have to add $20,000 to a unit or $50,000 to a cost.
You become much more profitable and have much more opportunity.
Well, you become profitable, you also can keep your prices to a lower level.
Tom Nolke, welcome to the program.
Hey, Tom.
Thank you for joining us. Beth Marcus, hello from Farmington. Trevor Peach, the musician, welcome to the show. The beautiful idea of that property, my friend, is the city of Charlottesville, which we both have an inkling that its projection shortfall of $8 million for next year. We both have an inkling that's light.
Seems to be. Anyway.
Seems to be, right. And Councilor Snook is straight up saying that.
Sure.
The city, I'm going to throw it to you and get out of your way, got to get pretty creative for some of these derelict properties that are not generating much revenue when your business model is kind of in the pooper right now.
Yeah, I would disagree with as far as derelict properties. Okay. We really don't have a lot in the city. As you know, I sit on the land trust.
Which ones would you say are? Besides Dewberry. Dewberry's derelict. Is that fair?
Yeah. I think there's another word for that.
Okay. All right. We're in agreement there. Do you think that's the only one?
No, I would prefer the term underutilized.
Okay. Okay.
right?
Managed perception. I like that.
Yeah,
Underutilized.
Underutilized. So
Okay.
there are some there's some brown spaces, right? Parking lots, something like that are underutilized. But the city just doesn't really have a lot of ownership of land. It doesn't own a lot. I think the largest, and Neil will correct me, I think the largest.
Is it the city yard, Neil, in Star
Correct.
Hill?
That's exactly
where it
right.
stores its equipment, Neil?
That's
The
correct.
largest plot of land the city owns?
Correct. I think that's the largest one.
And I think it also, and Neil, correct me if I'm wrong, Rory Stolzenberg, correct us if I'm wrong, they may own a large parcel that's 50 plus acres down Avon on the county line, the city owns, I think, and that 50 plus acres is where they store their buses for CAT. Neil, please correct me if I'm wrong. Rory Stolzenberg, correct me if I'm wrong.
And then that becomes an issue if you use that for affordable housing or
It's
something.
like, where does the storage happen?
Where does the buses go?
Where do the buses go?
That's exactly
And if you
right.
take the city yard, which is a huge piece of property, if you take that away from city works, where does that go?
Yeah. These are, these are things two guys drinking coffee or gin ain't going to solve in an hour. But I can tell you, when folks on this feed, there's some smart people really looking at this stuff and going through it. I just remain hopeful. We are optimistic people by nature.
We're entrepreneurs.
Well,
You almost have to be.
Yeah, well, it's just wake up in the morning and keep on doing it. But look, real estate, which is what I do, is not slowing down. To be frank, I think with the exception of one, we're out of listings.
Yeah.
So, which is a good thing. That's a good problem to have. But
Still a problem.
It's still a problem. It's just we need to figure out. I think you're going to start seeing, as they were saying, the millennials going to start getting back into the marketplace. People's confidence are going to increase. Houses are going to come on the market.
Well, it's a good thing you're a super cool guy and you have the spirit of a 25-year-old. Because your mentality is going to align perfectly with the millennial. And anybody that's looking for a house to purchase or looking to list their home should call Keith and Yonna Smith.
Cool,
or
yeah.
any trusted advisor. If that's what you were going to say, wasn't it? But specifically the Yes Team Realtors. Jerry, you're getting me into trouble
Jerry's
again.
getting me into trouble
I knew
again.
you were going to say that, Keith.
Our chemistry is on.
It's on right now.
Well, it's funny. So, speaking of which, I have a slide that says "Trusted Advisor." How do you know that?
Because you
Number
gave-
6. if you
Number
don't mind.
6, Judah.
Oh God.
Keith, the show's yours.
Oh, good Lord.
It's on screen, Judah says.
Yeah. We have cameras on, right?
We do.
Okay, got it.
Tell us about this trusted advisor slide. I'm actually tearing up right now.
There you go. So, look, there's multiple real estate agents that are very good watching, right? But this is the time, and we've talked about this on the show multiple times, to have a trusted advisor to help you navigate this stuff. Look, it's just like everything else. So we just talked about the $60 million upside down with Albemarle County, right? Ned has a ton of trusted advisors that's working for him, both some at the county level and some maybe not so much. The citizens trying to give him some advice on how to manage that. So it's always best when you get situations like this is, hey, trusted advisor, tell me what the market's about. And this trusted advisor should listen to you. That should be their best skill, believe it or not. Takes it from a guy who talks all the time.
I wasn't going to say it.
I know you.
That's why Yonah's there.
That's right. So, but you should listen. When I have to, I listen.
You do. Yeah, you definitely do. And you think outside the box. I've seen you do it with clients. You offer perspective that hasn't been considered because oftentimes the client is right here
Sure.
and not seeing the...
Sure. Yeah, without a doubt. Our jobs are always this.
Right, we're macro.
You got to look at the big picture. You can't laser focus into it, but you have to be respectful of that person laser focus because that's important to them, and we need to talk about that, and we need to understand what that is. But if somebody is frightened, they don't wish to leave the house, then you have to respect that, and you have to talk about that. But sometimes they have to, right? We have a couple of clients right now that they have to move. its work is relocating them. So we take the time, we talk to them, make sure that they're comfortable. This is how we're going to bring people into your home, right? We're going to have the real estate agent, and we're not going to change this process for the foreseeable future. We're going to have the other side call us. We're going to talk to them. We're going to ask the agent to do a preview first, make sure they're masked up right, they're wearing gloves, they have booties on. We go through this process, and then if the client looking to buy is interested, then we start through the process of an in-person showing. Yonna's out doing a home inspection now, and that's exactly how that process is going, because somebody needed to talk to you for an hour.
Thank you for
You're
coming.
welcome. You're welcome.
I'm enjoying it.
I know you are. Plus, she's much better at it than I am.
Well, and you're very good at this.
Oh, I don't know about that. So my grandmother, God rest her soul, told me, Keithy, me boy, when they vaccinated you, they used a phonograph needle instead of a hypodermic needle. Shut up.
Is this the same grandma that said, Keithy, my boy, what is it exactly you do? Is that her? Did she say that? Or was that your mom?
That's
your
my
mom?
That's my mother.
No. Mrs. Smith.
What do you do? What actually do you do?
Smith? When she said that to you, were you like, Mom, I'm hurt here?
No, I went, yeah.
Were you like, Mom, all right.
No, this is the same grandmother that used to say, if you throw enough shit against the wall, it'll stick sooner or later. So she was a great woman. Really.
Ray Cadell says this: I've been listening to you guys in the car in Greene County.
Hey.
We just sold another construction home in Hancock Farms this morning.
Congratulations.
It's complicated, but it's possible.
Sure.
The market is turning.
Yeah, 100%. And, I think you're going to see an uptick in everybody who's watching. Real estate agents may chime in and tell me otherwise. And I just going to see an uptick in listings, I think, starting to hit probably in the next 2 to 4 weeks.
Oh, yeah, 30 days.
I think so.
I think so, too. I mean, and what's going to happen, and who said this? You know who said this really well? Christopher Brement.
Oh, yeah.
For Bramante Homes. As things slowly open, the trickle-over impact is going to be slow confidence building, because you'll see your neighbors and your friends safely patronizing and enjoying their favorite brewery, winery, or restaurant. And when you see that, and then you see that the metrics and the numbers from COVID in our community are managed appropriately and people are going out, that'll breed the confidence we need to get things going.
So it's not just you and I saying this, and if you don't mind, slide 5, please, Judah. Again, to quote Dr. Yoon,
these are big time. Yeah.
These are smart guys, and they're literally. If you read his quote, they're literally saying, as soon as folks' confidence get up, the mortgage rates are low. I mean, just everything is there.
Right, everything is put. The only trepidation I have, only thing I have, 2 things, Keith, is we need to see the unemployment numbers tick back down, and we have a little concern with the inventory numbers, the inventory levels. Excuse me.
Yeah. So on the inventory levels are
legit.
I think are legit, and they're going to come back. The unemployment end of it is, and actually I've been trying to bring and working on some, I'm going to hopefully bring some folks from Piedmont Housing Alliance in and some other property managers on it. I'm really concerned about evictions.
Ooh, talk to me about that.
Yeah, we're
residential?
Correct. Well, so the largest chunk of the unemployed are more than likely don't own houses.
That's true.
They're more than likely tenants.
And they're more than likely in the retail and restaurant industry that got hammered.
And if you take a look at the numbers, a huge percentage of them are. So my concern is once this PPE stuff starts wearing off and capital starts going down.
Where's the money to pay the rent?
Where's the money to pay the rent? And if the landlord isn't able to absorb it, I got a real fear about this. I think foreclosures may tick up a little bit, but I don't really see any foreclosure crisis on it. I do see the evictions.
And what's going to happen? Sarah Whitney, Tiger Fuel Company, welcome to the show. We're live on 12 Facebook pages. Then what happens then?
I don't have the answer to that. Oh, man. That's a scary thought.
I would think the landlord has probably worked with the tenant already, but I think that the landlord, especially some of the bigger ones like an MSC in this community, has got to be thinking about that and whether or not students come back in the fall.
Yeah, I'm trying to put a show together for that and bring in some folks in there. We were talking about before we went on the air. One of the things that Jerry and his team is working on is to do multiple folks in
one broadcast.
In one broadcast. In other words, it's two folks. So I'm trying to bring some folks in because this is way above my pay grade. Property management and rentals is not my thing. So I need to bring in some folks that are much smarter than I on this stuff and talk about it. But I just logically, if money starts running out, jobs don't start cranking back on in the service sector, revenue doesn't start coming into the folks, I think rent issues, and I think my friend Anthony's going to become a little busier.
Yeah.
But, not to end the show on...
No. You're just being realistic.
I'm just being a little realistic.
Yeah, I think that's legit. Good show today. We have a video we're going to play soon to close.
Sure.
But dotting the I's and crossing the T's, what have we missed today?
Yeah, it's always a great opportunity to chat with Ned. You get firsthand thing on it. You couldn't ask for a better guy in this leadership seat, in my opinion, over at Albemarle County. He didn't Pollyannic it. Right?
He was real.
Pretty realistic.
Yeah.
Hey, we realize we got a $60 million shortfall. We got a lot of smart people working on it. So give these guys a little support. They need it. Not only are they working whatever they do to pay their bills, they're putting 40, 50, 60 hours a week for us.
For $16K.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, it's not even worth saying.
Yeah.
It's just I'm not diminished that amount of money, but the volume of work that they put in is just, and most of them don't take it, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Most of them don't.
Most of them don't take it.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So the reality of it, that's what it is. And look, the market is turning around, at your comfort level. Whatever that comfort level is, seek out a trusted advisor, whoever that might be. We'd love to help you. And then, be confident that the technology, and I think we're going to end on this note here with the video, the technology is there, man. We're doing like what Yonna's doing right now. She's doing a virtual home inspection, right? The client's going to be there via FaceTime through the house on us. There's only going to be 2 people in the house. We're doing digital signings across the board. There's digital recordings. We're going to bring back our favorite friends, Bill Tucker and Katie West, to talk about how to do that. So, if you're in the market, now's the time to do it.
I love it, guys. We'll archive this show on the YesTeamRealtors.com. We'll archive it on ILoveCVille.com. We had Chairman Ned Gallaway from the Albemarle County Board of Supervisors at the top of the hour, at the top of the show, to break down special use permits, new development in Albemarle County, a $60 million deficit, public transportation, and an update on COVID-19. The distinguished gentleman, Keith Smith, has put a video together that we think is perfect to close this program. What do we got?
Yeah, so it's about this technology thing we're talking about, right? So it's a quick little thing. Please be patient with me. I'm learning how to do all this fancy technical stuff. Yeah, because who knew you can teach an old dog new tricks? So,
Judah, you have that video ready for us, sir?
Thank you, everybody, for your time today.
Yeah, thank you. Keith Smith crushed it. Ned Gallaway, thank you. I'm Jerry Miller. This is a Real Talk, powered by the Yes Team Realtors, trusted advisors in the real estate game. J-Dubs will do it in 3 and 2 and 1.